All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. I got another video for you. Like I always say, I appreciate anybody who watches my videos, subscribes to my channel. I really appreciate it. I know that there's so many channels out there now, and part of the reason I was reluctant to even do one is that, well, I'm just going to be one of hundreds, if not thousands of them out there. But the one thing I insisted on doing that was going to kind of set me apart, and I'm hopeful that's the way you guys feel too, is that I don't really have a lot of wild takes and wild opinions, just like out of left field stuff. And I like to bring black and white proof to back these things up. Every video that I do, for the most part, well, really all of them, is based on research that I've done. Even when I did my rankings, it was all based on research. It just took all these criteria. I think there was 21 of them, and came to my conclusion of who my top 25 is. Now, obviously, it's going to be fluid. In another 5 years, I'd probably have to redo it. There might be some players that get into the top 25, some players that come, move up on the list, and then some maybe that get pushed down, maybe even out. Like I figured that Elgin Baylor will be out of my top 25 here probably in 5 years. I'm sure Giannis and Jokic will have knocked them out. I don't see any other player in 5 years making really a move one way or another, but you never know. Could be. But in this video here, what I was looking at, and this was like a sub-criteria. This covered the strength of your teammates, the strength of your competition, kind of rolled into one, I guess you could say. And this is by no means the be-all, end-all of anything. I mean, this, sure, some of this stuff needs a lot of context, no doubt. But some of these numbers are so glaring, I don't care what context you bring up, there's just no denying it. And what it is in your playoff series in your career, how many All-Stars did you have versus how many were on the other team? Now, for example, let's take the 1986 Celtics, for example. Now, I don't have all the information in front of me exactly, but they played, I can't remember. Oh, they played Chicago in the first round. Okay, even though Jordan was injured, he was an all-star. Okay, he was voted in as an all-star, so that'll count. Well, I believe Boston that year had 3 all-stars. I think it was Bird, McHale, and Parrish. Those 3. So they have 3 for round 1 against Jordan, the only one. So 3-1. The next round, I believe it was Atlanta they played. So they have another 3 against Dominique Wilkins, the only all-star on that team. So now you've got 3 plus 3 is 6, 1 plus 1 is 2. And then I believe in the conference finals it was Moncrief and Cummings. So you got 3, 9 versus 1, 2. So 9-4. And I believe Houston had Olajuwon and Sampson, I think. But all told, the Celtics that year would have had 12 All-Stars, because it's 3 per series, against 1, 2, against 1, 2, and 2. So it would have been 12 against 6 for the entire playoff season. So Boston would have had 12 All-Stars playing against 6 for the entirety of that particular year. And that's how I came to the number. And some of these numbers are just crazy high, and not many of them, because these guys are all-time greats, not a lot of negatives, I guess you would say. So I'm just going to go through my top 25, and we're going to see which ones stand out. Now, number 25, Nikola Jokic. Now, he had 14 All-Stars in every series that he's played in. I believe he is the only All-Star, and this does count yourself as an All-Star. And he played against 20, which is a net of -6, which I believe is the lowest on this whole list. Now, granted, he's got a lot more years to go and all that. And again, this is not the be-all, end-all determining factor of the strength of your teammates or the strength of your competition, but it is a guide. It is at least, it's got to be taken into consideration as a factor. It's got to be. Similar for Giannis at number 24. He had 22 All-Stars and playing against 20 All-Stars. So he had a net of -2. And again, that's on the lower end. Number 23, Elgin Baylor. He played with 67 All-Stars, and again, includes yourself, against 65 All-Stars. He was +2 for his career. Which, again, that shows you had good teammates, but you also had tough competition, because that's a lot, 67 and 65. But of course, back in those days, there was a lot more All-Stars. There was less teams, so teams would have had 2 and 3 All-Stars often. Number 22, David Robinson. He had 33 All-Stars in his playoff career against 34 All-Stars, so he was actually a net of -1. Number 21, Bob Pettit. He had 35 All-Stars playing against 39 All-Stars, a net of -4. So far the numbers have been pretty low. But now we're going to get into the crazy stuff. Number 20, Kevin Durant. 78 All-Stars in his career against 40. So he's got a net of +38. I'd say that's pretty high. He clearly had the better team. When it's this glaring, it's like, wow, you got a lot. And to only win 2 championships to me is just, it's a real disappointment. And why Durant is, number 20, and some people have him in the top 10 even, or like 15. No, he did not score anywhere near that for me. Number 19, Kevin Garnett, which I thought initially he played the Lakers and the Spurs and all these teams, the Kings in the early 2000s, late 90s, all that. For sure, he's in the negative. He's not. A lot of it, I think, was because Boston had a lot of All-Stars. 49 All-Stars in his career against 42. So he had a net positive of +7. So he actually did have more. Most of that was on Boston. But it goes to show you that he had 29 less than Kevin Durant. And, of course, Garnett only has the 1 championship. Karl Malone. Now, he would have had Stockton his whole career, that kind of thing. All told, 60 All-Stars against 51 played against. So he had a +9. A big reason why Malone is only number 18. If he would have won a couple of championships, he's in the top 10. If Karl Malone would have won 2 championships, let's just say they would have won in 97 and 98, Karl Malone's in the top 10. There's no doubt about it. It's funny to think he's 4 wins away from being in the top 10. Instead, I got him at number 18. He would have been in my top 10, no question. If he would have beat the Bulls in 97 and 98, Karl Malone is firmly in the top 10. Number 17, George Mikan. Now, he only had a few years, but 33 All-Stars, which is a lot, against 24, which is also a high number, but he had a net of +9. Oscar Robertson, 38 All-Stars, played against 42 All-Stars, so he was a -4. A lot of that had to do with Boston and Philly in the 60s. Then when he got to Milwaukee with Kareem, that kind of, brought it back closer to even. Here's one of those just truly crazy numbers. Steph Curry, how many All-Stars do you think? Now, granted, I'm going by each series that they played against the other team in each series. All told, if you count up all the series, Steph Curry had 83 All-Stars, which is one of the highest numbers on this whole list, against 34, less than half, for a net of +49. And I included Kawhi Leonard, who only played, about, two and a half quarters. This is what I tell people about the whole Steph Curry thing. I know he's got 4 championships, but the context of that needs to come into play. I mean, they were clearly vastly the superior team in almost every series he's ever played, other than maybe the first couple and early in his career, maybe the last like 2023 or something. Anything in between that, vastly had the better players. And number 14, Moses Malone, 47 All-Stars against 43 All-Stars for a net of +4. So that's about average. Jerry West, I thought playing Boston so much that he would have had a different number here, but I forgot he had Elgin Baylor, and then later Will Chamberlain and Gail Goodrich, and other guys like Happy Hairston. And anyway, Jerry West had 72 All-Stars against 63, a net of +9. That's the same as George Mikan, the same as Karl Malone. It's a higher than average number on this list for sure. Dr. J, 80 All-Stars, played against 74. I did include the ABA stuff. I went back and looked. He has a net of +6. That's about middle of the road, maybe. Yeah, about middle of the road, I guess. Number 11, LeBron James. He had the second most All-Stars that he played with on this list. And this is another thing why the LeBron people, you need to take a look at this. How many All-Stars do you think LeBron James played with, including himself, in every series? 109. 109 All-Stars. He played against 89. So while, he had some tough competition at times, he also had a ton of weak competition. A net of +20, which is actually the 8th best on this list. So if you go by just All-Stars with no context, LeBron had the 8th best team All-Star versus competition All-Star on the whole list. 20 +20. Shaquille O'Neal, way higher than LeBron's. 93 All-Stars going against 54 of a net of +39. He was the 4th highest on this list. Shaquille O'Neal had a lot of All-Star help. I mean, it was Penny Hardaway. It was, of course, Kobe and Dwayne Wade and Steve Nash and LeBron James. I mean, he had just nothing but All-Star help. One year he had Eddie Jones, Nick Van Exel, Kobe. He had 3 All-Stars on his team. And that is why Shaq is not like in the top 7 or 5. I get some people get these crazy, like Skip Bayless one time had him 3rd or something. Like, no way. Like, I didn't even know if Shaq was in the top 10. I thought maybe he should be outside of it. Number 9, Tim Duncan. Now this is one of those context matters. 67 All-Stars for Duncan against 64 All-Stars. So he has a net of +3. You're thinking, okay, well that's pretty even, right? But here's the thing: when you look up the all defensive players and all that kind of stuff, Duncan dwarfs the competition. That's one that the context is definitely needed on a player like Tim Duncan. I'm not trying to take anything away from Tim Duncan. Obviously, a great player. His team accolades are tremendous. One of the best, and he's in my top 10, no doubt about it. But some of the individual stuff is what always held Duncan back. But we're not talking about that on this. +3 is, it's not really that high of a number. He did have more than he didn't. But even with that, it was pretty even, meaning he had some pretty stiff competition at times. Number 8, Akeem Olajuwon. In his entire career, only 41 All-Stars, which is pretty low, considering he played a full career. I mean, George Mikan played, because they didn't even have an All-Star game the first couple years, not till 51. George Mikan only played like 5 seasons, 33 All-Stars for him, and Olajuwon only had 41. 41 All-Stars against 46 All-Stars, so he's got a -5. So that is the second lowest on the list. So he's back there with people like Jokic and, Giannis and Bob Pettit, that kind of thing. Number 7, Will Chamberlain, which playing Boston all those years, you figured he'd be in the negative for sure. He wasn't. And this is what I've tried to tell people. Will Chamberlain's teammates were good, very good. In fact, Wilt Chamberlain in his career, 75 All-Stars, which is, pretty high number, against 69. So he actually had +6 more than his competition did. So again, this whole Wilt didn't have anything or not as good as, well, it may not have been quite as good as Russell's, but it wasn't that far off. Number 6, Larry Bird. He had 75 All-Stars just like Wilt, but only 42 against. Larry Bird, the highest on this list, and part of the reason I kept him out of the top 5, a net of +53. That's the highest on this list, with Curry coming in second at +49. And again, that's why I don't have Bird in the top 5. Was part of the reason was that his teammates were really good. He probably should have won more, at least like a 4th championship. I know the back thing and all that, but even with that, he probably should have at least got 4 championships. But whatever. Bird was my favorite, man. I loved Bird. But he had a lot of help. I mean, 75 to 42. Wait a minute. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, 75 to 42. Bird is plus, I don't know why I wrote 53. That was a mistake. My bad. That's +33. No, he does not have the highest on this list. It's pretty high. That would mean Curry. Curry had the highest. I don't know how I did the math there. Curry would have the highest at +49. Shaq is second, was +39. And Kevin Durant third at +38. Those are high numbers. Well, until we get to a little farther down. Kareem, 110 All-Stars, the most on the list. So he had the most teammate help of all 25 players. LeBron is a close second. But part of that is because they played 20 years. 81 he played against, so that's a net of +29. That's high. That would be the 6th highest on this list. Again, another reason why I don't have Kareem like 2nd or 3rd like other people do, because he had so much help, and the NBA was in its weakest as far as like people talk about watered down. How about adding a whole nother league and taking at least a third of the best players out of the NBA and putting them in a separate league? You want to talk about watered down? Try the first 7-8 years of Kareem's career. I think it was 7 years. Number 4, Kobe Bryant. He had a high number 2, a lot of help. He had the toughest competition in my mind, but he also had a lot of help. 80 All-Stars for Kobe against 55, a net of +25. I believe that's 7th highest on this list. So Kobe had a lot of All-Stars, 80. And only 55 he played against. Number 3, Magic Johnson. Now he obviously had a lot of help. James Worthy, Kareem, all the players he played with. Magic had 101 All-Stars, which is a lot for a guy who played about 13 years. 13 playoff runs. Against 58 of a net of +43, which is the 2nd highest on this list. However, like I like to argue to people, Magic won 5 championships though. He might have had a lot of help, because a lot of this, reason why he's only 58 wasn't a higher number for All-Stars against is because his conference really wasn't that great. Now, when he first came in the league, the first 2 or 3 years, the West did have some pretty good competition, and at the end, it had some good competition. From about like 1983 to about 88, those 5-6 years, oh yeah, it was weak, very weak. Number 2, Bill Russell. Now everybody's expecting, me included, that Russell would have had way more All-Stars than what he played against. He did, but it wasn't the alarming number that I thought it would be. Bill Russell, 86 All-Stars against 72. +14, still, he had more for sure, but not a Steph Curry like number or a Shaq number or a Durant number. I mean, these guys had way more All-Stars than they played against. Russell did, but not at the clip of some of these other guys. Number 1, Michael Jordan. This one surprised me a little. 56 All-Stars against 58 All-Stars. So that's a net of -2. That puts him in the bottom, like, 5 players right there. So, you know, when it comes to at least All-Star help, Jordan didn't have it like people think. He actually had less than his competition did. So just to go back and look, the people who have the lowest amount of help are people like Jordan, -2, Olajuwon, -5. He's one of maybe the low. Him, I think Jokic is lower. Oscar Robertson was -4, Bob Pettit -4, Giannis -2, and Jokic -6. Okay, so those guys you can kind of lump together. On the high end, you got players like Kevin Durant +38. You got Steph Curry, the highest by far, +49. You got Shaq +39. You got Bird +33. You got Kareem +29. Kobe +25. Magic +43. I mean, a lot of these players in here had a ton of help. And that's why I think players like Duncan, Olajuwon, Jordan, that, you know, they didn't have the kind of help you actually think they did. Duncan did have a lot of defensive help and all that, but I mean, when you're looking at All-Stars, Duncan barely had more than he played against. So anyway, that's it for this video. Again, I had this information. I just wanted to share it. I find it very interesting, very fascinating. This is not this is not by any means the shape of the type of team you necessarily played with or played against, but it does give you a good glimpse of the kind of help you had on your team and the competition you were going against, and the two combined. And from what I'm looking at, I mean, like, again, Steph Curry just had ridiculous help, ridiculous. And for somebody who had 83 All-Stars and only playing against 34, I mean, that's what, 40%? Like, it's just not close. So anyway, that's it for this video. Leave in the comments what you think. Do you think this needs a lot more context? You could say that. I don't disagree. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. And until next time, thanks for watching.